Often the response to budgets is divided along tribal lines, but in education, some groups that had high hopes for Labor were pointedly underwhelmed. Education budget, a major disappointment for educators, said the NZEI. And as our education correspondent took stock, he found many in the sector saying the government's 1.6% increase to operations grants, an extra $270 million for special education just isn't enough all up. They also say the budget hasn't addressed the workload and pay problems that are driving the teacher shortage. So looking at all of that, here is John Gerritsen.
In the staff room at Wellington's Berhampore School today, teachers don't have anything good to say about the budget. Andy McKeag says the Labor Party raised expectations while in opposition and it's fallen short now it's in power.
Before they came into government, they promised they would start fixing these elements of education and health. I don't know anything about health, but they're not going to make any changes whatsoever in education, especially because they're just putting band-aids on the problem by throwing money at learning support without actually addressing a system that doesn't work properly.
Michelle McCracken says Jacinda Ardern's government has ignored the problems raised by schools in recent years.
We've been going to the government quite often with the issues that we're having, not just our own pay, but just the way schools are being run, and it's just disappointing to see that there's not enough being done. You don't want to say it's lip service, but it starts to feel like lip service when the same problems are being brought to the government's attention and nothing's being done to help solve them.
Relief teacher Marlena Myers says a high workload drove her out of full-time teaching and the budget has done nothing to entice her back.
So I've actually taken a year's leave off my full-time job to go relieving to have a sort of a work-life balance. So if I'm looking at that in terms of what the budget offers, it doesn't change, I don't think, my predicament in terms of workload for teachers, increase in salary to retain and keep good quality teachers, because I'm halfway out the door.
The Educational Institute is currently in pay talks for primary teachers. One of the negotiators is Liam Rutherford, an intermediate school teacher from Palmerston North. The government set aside an as yet unknown amount of money for the pay settlement, but Mr Rutherford says it still should have delivered more yesterday.
I think it's pretty flat actually. I guess we were a bit disappointed with where this is going to leave schools. I think at best what this is saying is that schools are in a position to stand still for another 12 months, but in actual fact that negates the fact that the crisis ahead of us needs immediate impact now, and there's nothing in the budget that would suggest that's coming.
Another of the union's members is Tute Porter Samuels, a special needs coordinator and deputy principal from Wainuiomata. She says the budget's $270 million boost for children with special needs is nowhere near enough.
It's a drop in the bucket of what we really need. Yeah, thank you for the money that we've gotten for oars, but actually it needs to be at least double that, because as it is with what's been given, we're still going to have to pitch children against other children to see who's got the greatest needs, when in fact all of these kids deserve that support.
Tute Porter Samuels says the government promised a lot for education and it's failed to deliver. Back in the Beehive, Education Minister Chris Hipkins says the budget provided the biggest increase in education spending in more than a decade. And he says the boost in special education funding is more than 3 times the previous budget's new spending in that area and goes a long way towards addressing financial and demand pressures. Mo te hōtaka o te ahi, ko John Gerritsen tēnei.